Well, and then
Unmuted in the recording now.
thank you.
Oh, good.
And then also the, phone.
Yeah. Keep in mind we're being recorded.
That's fine. Because I do think that, the
Yeah.
phoning, I don't see as much texting, but definitely phone use. And again, that's from not all the teenagers.
No, and the cars now, Bluetooth with your phone. So I think as time goes on, the cars will get updated, and as they're getting rid of the older cars that don't have the Bluetooth, I think that will take care of that part of it. Texting, it's hard. It's hard when you're driving along and you hear a text come in and you're expecting a text or whatever. It's hard not to pick it up, but if you do, you're gonna die. Probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just waiting for Jody and Doug to blow in.
Well, I want to meet Doug, because he's the,
Rep for your area.
yeah, and I've talked to him on the phone a couple times.
Good. Yeah, so if anybody's online, which nobody is, I was gonna let them know that we'll start when we have at least a quorum. One of those days where you have public health and safety at 8 and admin at 9 and, 3:45, I do some planning, 4:45 public work, 6 o'clock city council.
Yeah, long day.
It is. And for me, I have MLS tomorrow morning at 8 for tours, and then I have planning board from 6 to 8 that night. So that's a 12-hour one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it leaves me time for real work.
Yeah.
Oh. I saw that Pete wrote us a letter. Pete Critelli.
Right.
He said that there was a reference who's not the president, superintendent of schools, Tom Fitzgerald. There may be a president of the board, if that was a reference, so if that's correct. I'd like to see it done sooner than later.
Hi, I didn't know you were gonna make it.
Yeah.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. But our chief can't be with us this morning. He's working on a felony case. So,
So what does that mean?
well, it's just.
I mean for the meeting.
Yeah, for the meeting, which we do a lot with him to find out what's going on, because he's been, researching additional stop signs, especially over by the school. There's certain intersections that could use some stop signs. And there's a couple people, in admin here who are working on looking at grants for the school resource officer.
Okay.
And I really wanted an update on the school resource officer.
But you're not gonna get it.
Not unless the mayor shows up, or maybe Jody, who's now coming in. Maybe Jody knows. Hey, Jody.
Sorry, I had to wait for the Moose family to get out of my alley so I could get in my car.
You didn't try to push through?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The big bull moose and the mommy and the two babies.
Oh, the whole family.
The whole family was in my alley eating apples.
Oh, how nice.
Oh.
So it's just you and me today.
Yeah. No Doug either?
No, he had a medical thing that happened, I guess.
So it's you and I,
And
and without the chief, it's gonna be short.
it will be. But
Which is good because I have a 9 a.m. teeth cleaning. So I'm going 5 minutes early anyway.
Have we started recording yet?
It's recording now.
Okay, good.
We've just been chatting.
All right.
Yeah, the only question I had on your minutes was that we had that discussion that we can't have the,
You can't take pictures,
it can't collect,
photos of
the
people.
licenses.
Right, and that's not what I was referring
Oh,
to.
okay.
I was referring to, the data that those machines can collect is like how fast people are going. So you know
how bad they're,
but not who's going.
but not who's going, yeah. And the number of cars that are, you know, it can measure traffic, like the amount of traffic during
The
certain
flow.
parts.
The number
flow.
of,
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
are,
We're going to do, in our budget this year, we have budgeted, traffic control signs, kind of like what they have in Roberts and Joliet, that will be permanent at, the different entrances, 78, south
212
of,
north and
yeah,
south.
212 north and south.
so they read out your current speed limit?
Yeah, yeah. So, but they'll be permanent. So the one we have now is battery operated, and the battery goes dead like right away. So, you know, and it takes, I don't know how long to get those recharged, so.
but those don't record anything, they
They-
just tell you what,
Right, yeah. So
Okay.
the ones, the city's working with the state, Montana, with MDOT, to try to find, you know, the best one to use, more upper end, so we can get some of that data, like, are people going to, you know, 35 at 60 still, or, you know, so the sign, you know, so if the sign isn't doing what it's supposed to do, then, you know, we can, the chief can ask for extra patrols in that area to help reinforce the sign. But usually they're just a reminder to people, especially when they're coming in off the highway, like, slow down, you know, check your limit, because, you know, how when you're going 70 and all of a sudden you have to go 45, it's hard.
You know, like in Roberts.
Yeah, exactly.
So where will they go?
Probably out, on the north entrance, probably, I'm not sure the exact location, but probably when you're coming into the 45.
To the 45, okay.
I would say either the 45 or the 35,
35, okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah, the 45, it seems to be the worst one coming in off the, you know, you hit the hospital and they're still doing 70, so,
Right.
Well, those signs that say you slow, you know, speed limit now 45, are kind of in the trees a little bit too,
yeah.
on the right, on the west
Yeah.
side of the road.
And then the south side, right now, they had put the temporary one, like, right before it hit 25.
Mm.
And I don't know if this will go farther up by, like, the Forest Service station, right at the city limits, so people, when they're coming down, you know, from 70 out of the path.
They might consider putting it closer to 308,
Yeah, I'm not sure
which will
exactly.
cover both roads.
And I think, you know, and then there's also, in the summer, the boxcar there, people walking
Yeah.
across the street.
Right,
You know, it's a
right.
safety issue, if people are going, you know, 45 miles, 55 miles an hour through there, and it's 35, so.
Can I ask how, you know, by the Boys and Girls Club and the skate park, they put up the yellow columns?
Yes.
Personally, I think those are very effective, and I don't know if you have comment on them, or,
Well, that has been a really problem area
Right.
in there because of the children crossing.
And
you know,
15 is a slow,
Yeah, it is slow, and I
Which
mean,
it should be.
so that's why the chief had them, and the mayor had them put those there,
Good.
would be to slow down traffic, so people, you know.
It's just a
look.
reminder, but it seems to work.
I think those work.
because you
Yeah.
have to kind of go around them, and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, you see them, they're very,
Well, I mean, there's even been people, that would like to just close that street
Yeah.
in there and make it just,
oh,
yeah.
pedestrian only.
Pedestrian only, but I don't think we're to that point yet, because of the traffic flow. It is, a lot of people do use it,
Yeah.
but
Dropping
it's
off
very,
kids and-
yeah.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's definitely been an issue, a problem area, the skate park there in the park, and then
Right.
the Boys and Girls Club, especially after school, or in the summertime especially too.
I think they work downtown as well.
I do
I think people are
Agreed.
looking for pedestrians downtown.
Yeah.
absolutely, I think
The
those
only
are very
issue,
effective.
the locals have with them is that some of our tourists stop them at every intersection when there's nobody there.
But you
You can't, there's nothing you can do for a dog, okay? There's
It's like,
nothing
it's
you
not
can
a
do for
stop,
a
it's not a stop.
That's not a bad problem to have.
I know.
No, it isn't.
It's only the locals that would complain. It's like, why are you stopping?
I know, yeah, please
You're
no.
supposed to be looking, but not stopping.
I know.
Yeah.
So, you know, that does happen.
Like roundabout.
Yeah, like,
Oh, yeah,
don't
that's
stop in the
another
roundabout,
old
what are you
story.
doing? I know. So, but yeah, I mean, I do think they do help.
So there's progress on that issue.
We think that we're working on it, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's come to the attention, and some of it's public work, you know, that we need a cooperation. We discussed having some sort of more control at the intersection there, by the post office.
Right.
Because when people are going to Babcock and Miles, they park all the way up on both sides, both on Hauser and on
Mhm.
12th, 13th.
12, I think, yeah.
12th.
Yeah.
And so then you can't see on Hauser. So, and it's a very busy, it's probably the busiest intersection.
Yeah, with me pulling out,
To try to get across,
Yeah.
if you're on 12th and you're trying to get across.
and you can't
Hauser,
see
you
traffic
can't
coming
see
out
to the right.
until you inch out.
Yeah,
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 It's
so,
those big trucks, you can't see around them.
yeah.
exactly.
Well, it is one of our most, I mean, the
It's a busy
intersection-
spot.
busy spot, so they are looking into putting a four-way
Maybe
there.
four-way.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
So
What-
we don't know for sure if it's gonna happen or not.
Can I ask- What's the protocol for, there's a new stop sign at Word and 8th,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
but the stop sign's up and that's good, but they also painted the horizontal white lines on the street. I don't know if you're aware of that on Word,
Okay,
you know, coming both ways. I think those white lines on the street are very helpful as a reminder
Mhm.
that something's coming up. Do you know what the protocol is for when they paint something on a stop sign on the street, on the pavement, and when they do not?
well, the city Public Works Department goes around and every fall, they typically repaint the crosswalk
Right.
and repaint things like that. And I don't know that they do it on every single one,
But
but,
how about for adding a new one,
They added
like
it.
at Word?
okay,
Because I would like that for our
Yeah.
streets where we, on North Hauser
okay.
and Fifth, there's a stop sign on Hauser, on North Hauser, which is a little problematic. A lot of people,
We won't even talk about that.
some people run it.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
roll it.
Or roll it, yes, and I think it would be helpful to put white lines on.
Mhm. Just stand out, nothing else.
You know, and I don't know I know it's paint, and somebody's gotta do it,
Yeah,
and the other factor might be, it's partially torn up from the work, so would they be say, well, we don't wanna paint anything there until all the paving's done, but
and then.
when is the paving gonna get done? Who knows?
Well, if it was dug up because of the stormwater project,
Mhm.
they're gonna, my understanding is they're trying to get all that paving done this year before it snows.
Well, I don't know if Fifth and North Hauser, that was a recent thing on Fifth going up to the west on Fifth, which they dug it up again. I'm not sure.
Right, I don't know where they're.
They know.
I'm not sure what that.
Why it was dug up.
Yeah.
But there was some paving laid down over the workspace last summer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. then
For the-
it's
But it's
problem.
not the full street, and it's not,
Yeah, where they're
It's kinda covered
repaving,
up.
where they're repaving is where they dug up. So I don't know, you know, if it's all,
But I would like to put in a request
okay,
for white lines, where there's a stop sign, also
Okay.
put a white line. Now, I realize that there's a cost to that, and there's a labor issue as well.
right,
And does it get beat up by the snowplows type thing? But, that particular intersection for us is somewhat problematic, because people either roll through or don't realize it's stuff, because that North Hauser's gotten so much more busy.
uh-huh,
Trucks coming down there, because they don't like, I guess they don't like the roundabout. I'm not sure why they're doing it.
yeah.
Or they don't want to drive down Broadway because it's crowded.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah, well, and the people walk out in front of them and they're
But-
big trucks.
But it's become a
Um,
much busier street.
Could you possibly email me all of this, so, and the
Sure.
mayor? Because it'll be the mayor that directs staff.
Okay, okay.
And then that way we'll have a paper trail, and I can email the mayor and me,
Okay.
and then I can forward it on to Mike Maples too.
Great.
Because that would be and the mayor can't be here today because he's teaching, so usually he's at our meeting, or else I wouldn't have you do that, but it'll come better, it'll sound better coming from you,
Yeah, so I
with the request.
mail it to you, but
And you have the mayor,
As-
at City of Red Lodge. So, just to both of us, because I'm council president, and we'll forward it on.
so to get Dave on, it, say mayor at City of Red Lodge? Or
Yes. yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
on the website.
Yeah, it is,
I'll
yeah,
figure
yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
And I'm running Word 3.
Yeah, yeah. Great,
Just so that we can have that email trail, so
good,
we
good.
can get it, and I can copy Mike on it as well.
And what is Mike's
Hey,
Hi, Dennis.
position?
He's Public Works Director?
Oh, I see.
Mike
That's
Maples,
Mike Maples,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I should
Yeah,
have, yeah.
Have we had any updates that you know of, Jody, about the school resource officer?
Mm.
Thought that they had a meeting.
They did, but I haven't heard what,
I
I'm not in the know on the school anymore, so. The kids are gone, I'm done with school, here, so.
Done and done.
Yeah.
Basically, the only other thing that we can cover would be resort tax.
Yeah, so, just so you know, we had, yeah, we had a meeting. And,
To give you an idea, we're looking to actually put the resort tax on the ballot for next September, which would be the earliest one, where we can use resort tax for public health and safety. Right now, resort tax can be used to purchase a police car, but not to man the police car. Won't pay for any overtime, or you can imagine that because of the tourists here, that they have more demand for police officers, and there's some overtime and other things, and it would be nice to be able to, pay off some of that, get some extra money. And the resort tax right now cannot be used for that. So the only way to change the use of resort tax is through a ballot initiative.
so, the Resort Tax Committee met last Tuesday, and, they want council, they wanted me to bring this back to council. If this were to happen, out of last year's expenditures, what would we cut
What would we cut?
out of resort tax spending? Because there's only so much money, there's only so much money, so what would we cut? If you want, if you want
Additional funds for,
yeah, if you want $300,000 to go to public safety to help pay for the fire department and the police department, what are, out of our existing expenditures are you going to cut? Because if it's right now we do $100,000 into water, $150,000 into sewer, and that's helping stabilize our water and sewer rates. So if we no longer pay that, then everybody's water and sewer bills are gonna go up.
And then what, 250,000, or
Yeah, that's $250,000.
for then you have the pool?
The pool, yep, and we can't, we've already,
98,000
and it's $98,000 for the bond payment, and it's $150,000 to run the pool.
So that's 250 and 250.
Yeah, and, and then, basically what it boils, so that's her ask, is for council to come back and say, are you gonna stop funding parks? Are you going to stop water and sewer? Are you going to?
or take
stop-
some amount out of those funds.
Yeah, I mean,
Little bit
it's
out of each.
each, yeah.
The other-
But right now, let me finish here, because this was kind of a big deal. In fact, they even voted on it unanimously. They do not feel right now, because they had just gone through the resort tax budget and what's currently allocated for, that has to be spent out of resort tax right now, because it's the parks employee, the snow plow driver, and then it's the capital that they're spending for different projects. And it was over $1 million that we spend every year out of resort tax right now. So that's all pretty much allocated. And last year, we had $1.3 million, almost 1.4 for the 3%. The 1% we can't touch, because that's all going to stormwater. So their concern is that they don't feel, the Resort Tax Committee does not currently have the funds, feels that the resort tax does not currently have the funds to fund the operation costs of public safety.
But they
and
did raise their
So they
proposed budget.
don't, well, it's a wish list.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if we get it, then we get to spend it. But if you allocate, $250,000 or $300,000 to public safety, that's another obligation of resort tax. So, period. So right now, they do not recommend, and it was unanimous, that the resort tax be used for, funding the operations of the city, specifically public safety.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't do it, but, I mean, it was a unanimous vote by the resort tax committee.
So $1 million of their proposed budget is basically already allocated.
Correct. And they feel that if we do this, we're tying up that resort tax for future councils to be able to, I mean, it's an obligation. You're not gonna be able to, like, this year, we had enough extra money from resort tax in our surplus, you know, that had been carried over. We had like a reserve in there of over $800,000 because it just had not, it kind of built up. And we were able to buy a vac truck that the Public Works Department needed for $500,000. But they use it multiple times a week. It's a very much needed piece of equipment. And if they would have bought it out of water, sewer, it would have taken those reserves out of water and sewer.
Right.
And if they would have financed it, it would have cost the city an extra $100,000. So the Resort Tax Committee feels it's very important to kind of keep that available to be able to buy, you know, the 2 police cars every year, you know, to replace the police cars. If we need to replace a vac truck, or we just bought a new snowplow the last year. They really like it to be available for those bigger capital expenditures to save the city money from having to finance it.
It sounds like Public Works is getting the bulk of the,
Honestly, it is, but then there again, it's also, like I say, it's stabilizing the water and sewer rates. Because of that, we would have probably double the water and sewer bill. So I guess to me, the takeaway is that what they would really like us to do is explore other options. They really feel, a public safety mill levy, a public safety district should be on the table, and the annexation of the city of Red Lodge into Red Lodge Rural Fire Department should be on the table, that we should be asking for those first, and why. And they feel like we're taking the low-hanging fruit, and that we should be,
of course we are.
I know, but they feel we're taking the low-hanging fruit.
Why
The
would
resort
we
tax,
skip the low-hanging fruit?
I know, I
The
know.
ones at the top of the tree.
I'm just the messenger. I'm the council rep on resort tax, so I don't get a vote. I'm just the messenger. But I mean, I do see where they're coming from. You know,
There's 2 sides on everything.
there is.
But if in fact, they've got $1 million allocated of a $1.4 million budget, there could be something that maybe we could say up to $300,000 in excess budget be allocated towards public health and safety. So it could maybe have that kind of writing. So that would be the first thing that you buy after, or you pay after your basics.
Yeah, well, and that's what they want us, and they want us, council, to basically then look at the budget and say, you know, what are you going to cut? What aren't you going to spend? What, because you can only spend $1 what? So,
I know, and cut is the word, so that kind of leads us on, but then again, they had an $800,000 reserve.
they did, but we
Yes.
don't, and.
Now it's only $300,000, but the point is that this resort tax is paid by 70 to 75% is paid by tourists. And tourists are the ones that actually cause the increase in public health and safety.
But
So-
it's not all.
No, I'm just saying, but if you double the population of Red Lodge in the summer,
Yeah.
then we need to have double the police.
Yeah, I mean,
force.
I'm not disagreeing with you,
Yeah.
it's just, but they want us to explore other options before we go to resort, because we will not have their backing for it.
So we can ask the people if they want to use resort tax for public health and safety, or would they rather pay extra on their taxes through a mill levy, or would it buy just as a public health and safety mill levy, or would they rather that we annex into the,
Red
fire-
Lodge Fire Department.
and then that increases their taxes, so it's
That's,
your taxes or the resort tax. I think I'll
Yeah.
know which way the vote's gonna go,
Yeah.
just as a guess. And I understand, you know, everybody on the resort tax has been very conscientious in how it's spent. But
Yep.
nonetheless, they have to realize that there is an expense. Buying a police car and you don't have a policeman to drive it.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I just think, we should, you know, explore all options, you know,
And
and we
those
have
are
to,
free.
well, yeah, but I mean, we have to tell the whole story on the resort tax. If they vote to use the resort tax to fund public safety, what won't they get on the other
There
side?
may be a cut on other directions, yeah.
You have to, or, you know, if we,
What is the total revenue from resort tax?
last year it was 1.3 million.
Okay, so 1.3, 1.4.
It was 1.7, almost 1.8 with the stormwater, so
Okay,
extra 1%.
okay.
But the 3% is what we can spend. The 1% has to go to the stormwater project. So, yeah,
So we just need some direction from council as to which option they want us to pursue
Correct.
diligently.
Correct. And,
Okay.
and as a resort tax person, who I'm directed to go back to council and tell them this, so I will do that tonight. I'm the resort tax liaison with council, so I will let them know that tonight, so,
Why don't we just raise overall tax?
overall, yeah, there you
Well,
go.
there's another one that's gonna be
I
met,
know,
these citizens.
yes,
I mean, we just had an increase in property tax, everybody knows it, and it's one thing to increase your property tax for ambulance. People understand that if you need an ambulance, you pay $100, no big deal, you know, and the whole county agreed. But, to ask them to pay an extra mill levy for public safety when it's truly the city's responsibility, but the problem with the city's budget is it goes up basically 0.5%, yet the salaries go up 1 to 4%. So there's obviously, what we need is a 5-year, forecast on our budget to see how soon we're gonna be broke. Because there's no way those numbers ever are gonna work. And Miles City just had the same problem where they're broke. Do you remember how much they're in the hole?
$850,000.
Are they really?
Yeah.
You can't, you have to balance your budget as a city, we can't have the deficit.
Right, obviously.
No, like,
So we don't wanna put ourselves in that same position. We need to have some forecasting of the budget. So we can, and that's why we're trying to pull some of the expenses out of the general fund to be paid by resort tax. Or put a public safety mill levy,
yeah,
yeah, or annex into the Red Lodge,
Rural
rural fire department. Also, that removes, well, this year, 300,000. It's by mills, it's 18 mills,
no,
28
27.
mills. Yeah.
28 mils, yeah.
It's hard to budget when the mill changes, you know, and so, wasn't it like 200,000, and it went to 307,000 in 1 year?
Yes.
That came out of the general fund.
Mm.
Yeah, out. So mill levies are hard to work with. I don't know whose idea that was.
It was the mayor, a prior mayor,
No, well,
and the fire department that reached, it's a contract that we have
yeah,
between the two, that was, a prior council directed the mayor to sign it, so that's what they did, so.
and to give you an idea, to annex into the Red Lodge Rural Fire Department, we have to have 40% of property owners. What was the other 40%?
Agree to it?
Yeah, we have to have 40% of property owners that equal 40% of the value of the property in the lodge.
So you're out of all the property in Red Lodge, it has to be 40% of that, and 40%
Of that
of
value.
Of
To
that
get
value.
it on the ballot.
No, it's not a ballot.
Oh, that doesn't get.
No, it's a petition,
So you do the petition.
and that's it.
And that's it. Oh, I thought it was a petition and then the ballot.
No, because the voters don't vote on that, it's only the property owners that actually decide that.
So that's a challenge too, but that might be the way to go. Pull out $200,000 or $300,000 out of your general fund.
So we have $1 million that is every year.
Yeah.
Is allocated. We collected 1.37 million.
Right.
And then these are our capital projects that we use, that we bought this year.
Electronic speed sign trailer.
That's our signs, our electronic speed signs. We allocated $30,000 for those 3 speed signs.
Okay.
Street signs, $40,000, those are,
That's the carryover, isn't it?
yeah, the wayfinding and the street signs, yeah. And then, Main Street sidewalk repair, we are doing $80,000 for that. Used road grader is $50,000 and the back truck was $523,000. And those are just the capital projects that we allocated this year. So we allocated,
1.1 million.
no, those are just capital. We allocated $2 million because we had $800,000 in reserve. So, I mean, these are all allocated every year.
40,000 street signs, the thing that, that Glory had talked about changing the street names, and that's what the street signs.
It could partly be that, and it's also wayfinding signs around town. So resort tax, just so you guys know, 5% of resort tax goes to tax relief currently, and that has to be by state statute. So that's, like $95,000 basically that we, don't levy because, so that lowers what we actually levy, and that's your property tax relief. $100,000 for water, $150,000 for sewer, pool, principal and interest for the bond is $98,000. Streets, O&M is, $228,000.
Streets, that's maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah, snow plowing, maintenance, like repairing, this is the only place that, resort tax is right now the only place that our streets are being paid out of. And, except we are, supposedly got a grant for, to redo, to add on to the, storm, to repair the streets and stuff for the stormwater. And then pool operations and maintenance is $152,000. Parks operation and maintenance is $107,000. Parks projects, which is basically the Parks Board, is $85,000. Law enforcement averages $17,000 a year, and that's because they buy 2 new vehicles every 2 years. So, type of thing. Or this year it was 17 because I don't remember if it was radios or, you know, whatever capital project they have, so. And that equals $1 million for this year. So,
Keep in mind, West Yellowstone puts all of it into the general fund of the city.
they do, but they also collect 5 times more in resort tax than we do.
What is that, just to have more traffic?
They service 10,000 people a day going into Yellowstone. That's like the 4th of July, every single day. And they have a winter season with snowmobile.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
So
I
they're,
mean, that would be our other option, would be to try to increase our resort tax. So, on the other side, the revenue side, so we have extra money to spend.
What does it take to increase the resort tax?
Well, a lot of people in Red Lodge would not probably appreciate that, because it would be increasing tourism.
But what would it take?
More marketing, more,
Marketing and a
Red Lodge has more,
ballot initiative?
you know.
How do you get the resort?
yeah, how do you change the resort tax?
You can't increase the percent that we have. It's set by state statute. It's
No.
3% that we can
3% max,
max, yes.
but we're charging 4%.
The 4 was added, it's an extra 1%.
So can
For-
we add another 1%?
No. So you can do, the most the state statute says is you can do 3%, and where the city, you know, you vote it in, and the city can do it, use that money however the voters say. And then, a couple of years ago, they said, and you can now do a 1%, but it has to be project specific, and it goes away once that project is done. So the 4% is the max that you can ever do.
Projects.
And ours is stormwater.
Yeah.
Ours is stormwater. Did I get that right, Denison?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
And that 1% when will stormwater be over?
When we're done.
Jody.
Well, we just added, the
When did they
utility,
consider it done?
when it's all paid off.
Oh, paid off?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just tacked on, onto people's taxes, that fee. So if we ever get extra, you know, once the project is done and the streets are done on top of it, we have to use that 1% to pay that down, and then it will go off of people's property tax,
So, 20 years?
probably.
Hmm.
Probably. I don't know. You know, you never know. Maybe we'll have bang, awesome years and stuff, but, I mean, every one of those streets, to redo those streets, costs like, I don't know, every block is like probably $500,000-$600,000 now. So it's gonna take a while for us to complete everything that needs to be done from that stormwater project.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, that's our budget. I mean, and honestly, you know, we don't spend as much money on parks as everyone thinks we do. It's unless you, except for the pool now is considered a park, you know.
Oh, okay.
But it is a separate line item. I mean, when we did our survey in 2019, 2020, when we did the renewal, the pool was the number one thing that people wanted. So, you know, we can't just close the pool and say we're gonna pay our police now. So, I mean, that's not an option, and, you know, and.
No.
And $107,000 for operation and maintenance of all the parks that we have, I mean, that's really cheap, honestly. And
Really?
yeah,
The real problem is if we take it out of resort tax and put police in,
and fire.
so the general fund, it'll end up exactly the same place, correct? In other words, if we don't pay this out of the resort tax, then we have to pay it out of the general fund.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's their point, that what in here could we cut?
That would not increase our general fund.
Right, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't get any.
There's nothing to cut.
That's,
There's nowhere, you cut here and you add here, it's, you know.
and I think that's their point, you know, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you're
Yeah, you're adding it back into the general fund if you cut it out of there.
right. Yeah, the general fund would then have to pick up the slack, or water, our enterprise fund would have to pick up the capital things that the resort tax is now paying, which would then increase people's water and sewer bills. So,
And I think we've done that enough.
so I mean, so that's their point. I mean,
No,
I
I appreciate the total explanation and
Yeah.
breakout. It's pretty simple, really.
I know.
There's nothing on that list that the general fund wouldn't have had to pay for.
Right. Well, and the $250,000 for water and sewer that we're currently using resort tax for is making it so the water and sewer departments can bond future projects. Not necessarily being paid on those bonds, but it's creating that revenue flow that we're able to bond at better rates and get more money for these big water and sewer projects. So that's really not an option to take that out. Because you would absolutely then have to immediately increase water and sewer bills, because of that revenue stream allows us to do those projects.
I was trying to envision my water bill to see if there's a credit on there. You know.
It's not a credit, it just means that we're not having to increase it.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a certain revenue stream. When they first started raising the rates on water and sewer, like 15, 20 years ago, it was because we were not charging enough and we could not get bonds
I
because
remember
of it.
that. I remember
You
that.
know, and they ended up basically having to more than, double,
We had to bring it up to,
yeah, so that we could actually qualify for bonds to redo our infrastructure, so.
yeah, I remember that.
So, anyway, I will try to explain this at council tonight. Honestly, I'm kind of, I guess we just look for a direction from the council, on how they would like us to proceed, and we'll go that way. I mean, obviously, we're not, the mayor feels our budget was good this year, but, it's just, like you say,
You need a 5-year projection.
right, and it's really hard to do a 5-year projection when you're talking about mills, especially for the fire department contract at 28 mills.
Yeah, that's painful.
Our whole general fund right now is going to public safety between the police department and the fire department.
How does the fire department thing work? We
We
pay them to
We have
service
a
the city?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, we have a
Service the
contract with them. It's state law that we have to provide fire protection.
Mhm.
And, we are, if we had to pay for our own fire department, I mean, yeah, it's a cheap deal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
They've got all the equipment and the
yeah,
personnel.
and then the city does own one engine still from when they merged with Red Lodge Rural Fire and Red Lodge Fire Department.
The old one.
Yeah, it's probably 30 years old now. And, we contract with them, 28 mils of what we collect in our general fund
Okay.
goes to pay them. And when we had the big property value increase, we went from $202,000 up to $300,000.
That was the jump last year.
2 years, yeah.
That was the jump in,
In what we paid the fire
The
department.
28 mils
Yeah,
jumped about
the
100,000.
value of 28 mills went up.
yeah, about $100,000, yeah.
Okay, well, it's 20 of, and if there's nothing much we can do. Does anybody here have anything you want to address on public health and safety that we haven't already talked about? Appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Okay, so I'll send you an email.
Please do,
And
and
copy Dave.
Yeah, copy Dave on it, and I'll, or if you just send it to me, I'll send it to
Okay.
Dave and the mayor. I mean, to the mayor and, the public works director. I want a cup of coffee today, so.
You haven't or have?
I had one cup this morning. Yeah. So that'll be good.
I don't want to
All
waste
right.
everybody's time, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
All right,
Sound good?
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for
Thank
attending.
you.
thank you.
Yeah, they're informative.
Do you consider, do we approve the minutes then?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll send that email.
Yes.